What is up, guys? I'm Tyler. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we're heading out to Lanai, one of the least populated islands in Hawaii, and we're going to be having an amazing trip doing some diving, and we'll see how it goes. We got Seth, he's behind me. We're gonna be doing a little shore dive here in Lanai. We've never done it before, so let's see how this goes. We only got about an hour, so let's have some fun. So we jumped right in with my Ocean Ammo Hybrid 75, and we're greeted with amazing visibility, which is great, but also can make things a little difficult, as I'll see in a second. I instantly see a nice uhu or parrotfish off in the distance, and I take a shot that doesn't even reach it. The water was too clear and he was out of range.
Oh yeah, there's fish here.
So, as was the theme of most of this trip, the shooting with this visibility was a little bit difficult. I had a 75, which is good for our less than ideal visibility in California, but it made it a little bit harder here. So I'm heading to the bottom here and I see some kala off in the distance doing circles. So I'm trying to be smooth, wait for these guys, and I take another shot that was a little too long, and the spear did not reach where I was aiming. All right, taking a drop here, and I see a lot of reef fish here, but nothing too interesting. So I'm doing something I would do a lot in California, which is crawl along the top of these rocks and try and sneak up and see if I can find anything. So I see a bunch of these reef fish, but nothing too interesting, nothing that I want to take. And I'm just kind of crawling around, kind of scaring them, but hoping I see something worth my time. And as I come here, I see a grouper in the distance, and I take a longer shot, and I hit this guy, but he does rip out when he got in the hole. But these grouper are actually invasive, so not a bad thing to take it off the reef. All right, taking a bit of a dive bomb here, looking down, and I see a roy, which is one of those invasive grouper. And I know that there's no limit on these things, there's no size limit, and you're encouraged to take as many as you can off the reef. So I'm taking a drop here, looking at this guy, and I'm just going straight down, not trying to make eye contact, and then I'm slowly pointing the gun over, and I take an easy shot to land my first peacock grouper of the trip. These are one of my favorite fish to target in Hawaii, and they're great practice on some of these dives. I really wish we could eat these things because grouper is one of my favorite fish to eat, and these things are super good looking and they probably taste amazing. But taking a drop here, I know behind this big rock here, I know there's a bunch of fish, so I try and go down slow, and I actually end up going a little too fast. And I see a bunch of targets, I see some parrotfish, and I should have shot that roy, but I just end up kind of flailing and scaring everything. So I decided to slow down, and I see a roy in this crack off in the distance here. So I lean into it, make a little lunge, and I end up sticking it, but another one gets me in the hole and breaks off again. So I knew where this guy was, and I thought maybe I could get back down in the same spot and land a second shot to pull this guy out of the hole. So I'm heading back down, looking off in the distance, and I take another shot at the same fish, and he ends up pulling off again and moving into another hole. So not my best shooting, I was hitting a little low, but it is what it is. And I'm looking at this area, and I see a nice, what looks like it could be a cave that I can maybe find an alua or maybe a nice papio in. So I'm taking a slow approach to check this cave out, and I'm just looking around underneath, being as slow as I can, hoping to see a giant alua or a papio. But I'm just looking around, tons of caves, tons of holes. I do a little swim through and head back to the surface. Did not see anything down there. Nothing at all.
That was sick.
Approaching on this cliff here, I see a nice hole, which I know will probably hold a little roy or a decent roy. And I know there's mostly looking for menpachi as well, but I'm heading down here to see what I can find. And as I'm making an approach downwards, I see a roy right there, and he's making his move across, and I'm able to put a little approach on and get an easy shot on a small Roy, another grouper for the stringer, and just good to get these guys off the reef. Like I've been saying, it's just good to get a shot that actually sticks, because my confidence was a little low at this point. But there it is, little grouper on the Hybris 75, but landed that one nicely. And this was another case of me just being a bad shot. Like I said, I'm not used to this visibility, and I get a good approach on this Uhu, and I hit low on it. I just kind of rushed the shot because these guys are pretty skittish, and I just whiffed. And I'm here again with another bad miss, and I know what I'm doing. I needed to be a little slower. Even when I feel like I'm going slow, when I watch the videos, it looks a lot faster. So I see a nice Roy there, and he gets himself in the hole, so I keep heading down, and I see one just floating over the sand. This should be easy, right? Wrong. Right over the top. So I think I overcorrected. I hit low on the last one, and then I take a shot on this guy and hit right over his head. I went back to the hole that I shot that Roy out of because I had seen a menpachi, which is one of the little red fish that like to sit in the dark. So I grabbed the pole spear, and I'm showing Seth kind of how to do this. We don't have a nice pole spear. It's like a 2-piece, 5-foot travel, and I sneak up and get a shot on this menpachi. Not a big one, a pretty little menpachi, but pretty stick to be able to dive down, target these guys in the little caves. And I'm taking another drop on the same area here because there was a couple little holes that they were kind of hiding in. So I'm trying to show Seth, like, hey, if we go down, we might be able to stay on the bottom for a little bit, push our breath holds a little, because we're still getting used to diving and just getting these deeper holds. But I'm hanging out here, laying outside the hole, waiting, hoping that one of these menpachi will show up. But I see them, they're all deep in the hole, and I'm not able to get a good shot on these guys. So I see a couple off on the other side here, and I look, but then one comes out, and I take a longer shot, and he's wiggling, and he actually pulls off inside the hole there, which is a little bit depressing, but sometimes that's what happens. And now here's Seth giving it a shot, doing the same thing, trying to get down quietly, calmly, and target these. Seth is going to the World's Tournament for freshwater, but still getting used to the saltwater game. Not quite as easy as the carp and stuff that we find in the lakes. But he's trying to line it up, taking his time here. And with that pole spear, it is a little bit difficult to line up a good shot, and he ends up missing twice into the hole there. And here's Seth again doing the same thing, just heading back into the hole, practicing his breath hold, practicing being smooth. He's letting out a little bit too much oxygen right there, but he's kind of being fast, and he's rushing some of these shots. But he's taking a good look, at least waiting, and then he misses one deep in the hole and is unable to connect on one of these menpachi. Definitely a fun species to learn on. He's still getting used to the 3-prong, but it was fun. Now it's my turn again, back with my gun, and I see a smaller parrotfish off in the distance here. Definitely the size that it needed to be legally, but not much over that. So I'm taking a slow dive bomb here, waiting for him to come out, and I take an easy shot for this guy, and then we're gonna give that to Uncle up on the dock up here. He'll take it home, but not a big fish by any stretch of the imagination, but a good eating one for our friends to take home and cook up. But there it is, a nice little parrotfish. All right, and I'm gonna embarrass myself with this one. This is one of the worst misses I had in Hawaii. These Roy love to sit there and just stare at you, and I'm not a huge fan of taking a shot head on. I feel like I can just bounce it off their heads. So I'm approaching this guy, and you can see him. He's just checking me out. And I'm going slow, making my approach, and I have no excuse. Like, honestly, don't know how I missed that. That was horrible. I don't know what happened there. Then that is 100% my fault. And then here, Seth went to grab my gun, even though I wanted him to shoot this Roy. So I took his gun to show him how it's done. You can see him there looking at me. I had my gun pointed at it, but I took Seth's, took a little bit of a longer shot, and stuck a decent Roy. Again, like I said, I do target these a lot because I'm not having a negative effect on the reef, as these are an invasive fish. So here he is. This one was a pretty good sized peacock grouper. Not a giant, but a good sized one and fun. And this fish, I don't know how I missed this. Like, I thought I put this shot right on the money. And you can see that peacock grouper staring at me again. He's pulling the old look. And right as I pull the trigger, he pulls the Houdini act. I see his head right there, easy shot. Boom, right where his head was. And nope, he was able to pull out of there and get his head out of that way of that shaft. And when I watched it back, it's right where I feel like I should have put the shaft, but it did not connect. And here we go, taking another drop, assuming I'm looking for Roy again. And there is a Roy right there. So I'm making the approach again, looking for these guys, paddling around. And then I see a squirrel fish in the hole. And I thought I hit that one dead on as well. But again, another miss. Story of our trip. I just could not hit these Hawaiian fish. They're way more pressured and way harder to target. All right, targeting another one of these invasive species here. This is a tawau, or an invasive snapper. So I'm targeting this guy, chasing him, trying to be as slow as possible so I don't spook him, and he goes into a hole right here. And I know that if I'm patient, there's a good chance that he'll come out and give me another look, which is exactly what he does. Comes out, and then I just stick him with the spear. That was about a 6-inch shot, but I got a good shot on him and pulled out one of these nice eating fish, and I gave this to one of our friends that were staying on the island. And then another peacock grouper here, and another horrible miss for me. Again, like, these fish, I feel like I'm gonna hit them. I put the spear right where I want, and when I watch it back, that fish should have been hit, and he just dodged it. That he just knew what was coming and dodged it.
All right, day 2 diving here. See if we can get more than we did yesterday. Just got a few Roy, got our gear. See what we can find.
So my camera was acting up today, so these will be mostly Seth's shots on this day. So he jumps in, and then he's loading up, and he's shooting a Hybris 100. I was shooting the Hybris 75 from Ocean Ammo, but he loads up the 100, and honestly, I loved shooting this gun whenever I was able to. But this thing was a blast. It was more suited to that clear water than mine was. But here is an angle of me hitting that Pachi hole. Decided to give it a shot right when we got out. And I'm, again, just showing Seth how to do this. And I take off one fish out of the hole, take a longer shot there, and just pull one Pachi out. Could be a little more smooth, but it is what it is. And then here's Seth taking a drop. And he sees a decent sized reef fish off to the right here. And he's going to take one of his first shots here in Hawaii. There it is, just a nice sized reef fish. And he blasts this guy, and then he just heads up and actually just ends up turning off his GoPro. And he did land it, but it went in a hole. And then here is Seth again, lines up, and then he smacks one of these Kole. Not a big one, but he got a little Kole there. And then here is Seth again, taking a drop. And he did a lot of targeting of more of the reef fish, more of like the oohoos and that kind of stuff. And then he takes a nice miss on a good sized fish right there.
Oh my God.
All right, Seth is taking a bit of a deeper drop for him. He's been having a lot of sinus issues, so we're trying to get him used to going out to some of this deeper water. But he's making an approach here. And you can see a nice parrotfish right there. And he hits just way low on this guy. He likes to take that shot from above down, but we're trying to get him down to their level. And then he's taking another look here. There's me doing a little swim through. And didn't see anything in that hole. And now we'll see what Seth looks for. He's going to be taking a drop here in a second. And he's taking the drop here. But as he looks around, he sees some Roy on the bottom, which, like I said, are some of my favorite to target. But Seth doesn't like to just target fish for the sake of targeting them. So he's just looking around and not seeing quite enough for him to take a shot on anything. And then here we go. This is probably Seth's last dive here. So he's taking a drop, and I believe he's targeting a parrotfish that you can see off in the distance there. So he's making a drop, looking for these parrotfish, and they come right in. This should have been an easy shot. And again, he hits right under what should have been a nice fish and one of his biggest fish of the trip for us. But it is what it is. All right, we were able to get a bunch of fish, had a great time, had some struggles getting used to that clear water. Out here, if I can see something, I can kind of hit it. Out there, not quite the case, but I had an amazing time on Lanai. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe.